We're Andy and Jenna, better known as a couple travelers.
We've spent the last 5 years exploring the world, covering everything across theme parks, cruises, and resorts.
Jenna recently attended a sneak peek of Florida's newest theme park, Universal Epic Universe.
In this video, I'm sharing my 15 best tips to make the most of your day in these 5 new immersive worlds. As a travel agent with Magical Vacation Planner, I was invited to come experience Epic Universe before it opened to the public on May 22nd. So it was quite an experience to finally see this new theme park, and I can't wait to share my 15 best tips with you from my, don't say epic, amazing, extraordinary, mind-blowing day at Epic Universe. Tip number 1 is to arrive early to the theme park, even if you don't have early park admission for staying on site at Universal. So for example, if Epic Universe opens at 9 a.m., early park entry will start at 8 a.m. and regardless if you're staying on site or not, I'd still recommend getting there at 7 or 7:15 a.m. If you are staying at a Universal Orlando Resort hotel and you get that great early park admission, there are currently 4 attractions that are open early for you. That includes Stardust Racers in Celestial Park and the 3 rides at Super Nintendo World, including Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge, Minecart Madness, and Yoshi's Adventures. And if you aren't an on-site hotel guest and don't get early park admission, as I mentioned, I would still aim to get there a good chunk of time before, because they will still let you into the park and they're actually gonna let you line up outside of a portal. So you know that Super Nintendo World is gonna be open for early park admission. You could go line up there so you're some of the first guests to get in for regular admission, but what I would actually recommend is going to one of the other portals and getting in line there. That way, when they open that portal at official park opening time, you are some of the first few guests to go in there and you can get some rides done with very minimal waits. Because of early park admission, you know the 4 rides I just mentioned that are open are gonna already have a long wait since guests could be riding it for an hour at that point. So I would, if I wasn't a hotel guest, I would avoid Super Nintendo World, save that for later in the day, and I would avoid Stardust Racers. I would try to get the other attractions in, and then as Super Nintendo World kind of lessens the crowd throughout the day, since a lot of people start there, I would then use and go to that last. And again, just a tip in general, double check before your trip if these are the same rides that are open for early park admission, but as of now, that is the case. And if I wasn't a hotel guest and taking advantage of those 4 rides that are open early, I would try to prioritize rope dropping, Harry Potter and the Battle of the Ministry, heading to How to Train Your Dragon Isle of Berk to rope drop either Wing Gliders or the Toothless meet and greet, or heading over to Dark Universe for Monsters Unchained. But again, the key here, if you're on site or not, is to arrive early. Tip number 2 is to plan ahead for comfort. Since this is a new theme park, a lot of the landscaping is gonna need to kind of grow in over the next few years. So right now, there is very little shade in this theme park, and it is hot. We're getting into the hot Florida summer. Hands down, you need sunscreen, and don't just put it on in the morning, but have some extra sunscreen in your bag to reapply throughout the day, especially as you sweat. Consider bringing a hat, but definitely sunglasses is a must. And then speaking of trees needing to grow in to create the shade, I also wanted to flag a really fun fact, which is a lot of the trees in the park were actually bought from private homes in Florida and transported and replanted in the park, which I thought was cool. Our VIP tour guide actually pointed out that like the trees in Dark Universe that kind of look dead, they basically had people like going around, driving around Florida to identify cool trees and purchase them and come again replant it in the park, which I thought was so cool. But a lot of these trees need to grow in to be able to provide shade in the park, so make sure you're prepared. Tip number 3, if you want to meet Toothless, that amazing animatronic, I highly recommend rope dropping that and making that your priority. If you're not familiar with kind of going to theme parks, a lot of these parks let you get in line for an attraction a minute before the park closed, and no matter how long the wait is, they'll let you get on that attraction. That was not the case for Toothless. as a meet and greet when I went to Epic Universe. So if this is important to you, I would recommend prioritizing it first thing in the morning. We noticed right after How to Train Your Dragon Isle of Berk opened, this already was at a 2-hour wait. And every time I walked by throughout the day, it was pretty consistently up there. What I did is I saved it for the end of the day, but that can be risky. And if that's the thing that you're like, this will make or break my trip, don't leave it to the last minute in case something happens. But the park closed at 8 p.m. on our trip. I got in line, I think like 7:10, 7:15, and I was lucky because a few minutes after we got in line, they put up a rope and they shut it off. So it wasn't, they were letting people in until 7:59 when the park closed at 8. They cut that early so that the meet and greet was done by park close. So when I got in line at 7:10, it said about a 45-minute wait. That was pretty accurate. But I will say that was absolutely worth it. This was one of the coolest interactions that I've had. Like, I genuinely was in awe of it. And the great thing, I mean, I hope they continue this, but you are not rushed in your interaction, which is fantastic. I recorded the whole thing and my video was over 4 minutes long of just me with Hiccup and Toothless. So that was just amazing. It wasn't like, come over here, take a picture, bye. It was actually talking to them. You know, he was like, have you ever met a dragon before? Here's what you do. And it was great. So again, if that is a make or break for your trip, just head there and rope drop it. And while I was actually waiting in line to meet Toothless, Stormfly and Astrid came out and they joined. They only came out for a half hour, but for that half hour, you got to meet Stormfly and Astrid and then go over and meet Hiccup and Toothless. So that one is a little surprise and delight. You don't know when they are coming out and how long they're gonna last. So we were next when Stormfly and Astrid actually left, but she came over to be like, we have to go, you know, get ready for tomorrow or something, and made up a little story, but she came to say kind of goodbye, which was nice. So we did get to talk to her. So that's could be a nice surprise, but I wouldn't count on an interaction like that. I know this will consistently have a long line because everybody's obsessed with meeting Toothless. So again, prioritize it early in the day if it's a make or break for you, because things like Express Pass and even VIP tours do not get you to cut the line here. Tip number 4 is to book with a travel agent. So you may not know this, but if you go to Universal and you book your trip yourself, you're actually paying for a travel agent, but you're not taking advantage of the services that a travel agent provides, and Universal just keeps the money that they set aside for an agent. But if you book with me, it's the same price that you'll pay booking direct with Universal, but you get my planning services at no additional cost to you. And it's important to work with a travel agent who's actually going and experiencing the destinations that they're selling to you. So I just got invited by Universal with Magical Vacation Planner to go experience this theme park before it opened to the public, and I came back with a lot of knowledge, a lot of tips and information that I am gonna go ahead and share with my clients. So if you're interested in getting a no obligation quote to go experience Epic Universe for yourself and all of the other amazing theme parks at Universal or in Orlando in general, please feel free to reach out and I'll put my email address in the video description below. Tip number 5 is to prioritize and know your must-do list. It can be very overwhelming to look at everything that Epic Universe offers and try to shove everything into a day. It's just impossible. So I'd recommend identifying maybe 5 to 8 things that are your must-do list and take it from there. So as someone who experienced almost everything that this park has to offer, here are 1 to 2 things from each world, from each portal that I recommend prioritizing. If you could only do one thing in Celestial Park, hands down, it has to be Stardust Racers. At Super Nintendo World, if you had to pick one of the attractions between the 3 there, I would prioritize Donkey Kong Minecart Madness. It is, in my opinion, the best of the 3 attractions there. But you can also have a great time in Super Nintendo World just playing with the power-up bands there. I know they sold them at my hotel, Terra Luna. They sell them throughout the theme park and the merchandise stores, but getting one of those bands and going around and just playing with the land, you could definitely spend a good chunk of time and it would be well worth it. How to Train Your Dragon Isle of Berk is what I think the toughest one to pick something to prioritize. I think you could prioritize meeting Toothless. I think Hiccup's Wing Gliders is also one of the most popular attractions in the park. And then there's also the Untrainable Dragon Show, which is a great way to escape the heat, get some AC, get out of the sun for a bit. Plus the show itself is awesome, and they have an animatronic Toothless, which has a 27-foot wingspan and weighs over 900 pounds. It is very impressive. I absolutely love that show. And then I think my favorite thing I ate all day in Epic Universe was at Isle of Burke as well. It was the PB&J mac and cheese cone from Hooligans, Grog, and Gruel. Definitely worth your time. If you're only gonna do one thing in Dark Universe, I think Monsters Unchained, hands down, is an amazing attraction. It is a very similar, if not the same, ride system as Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey over in Hogsmeade. So if you get motion sickness on that, you may on this attraction, but having done both, I found Monsters Unchained to be much easier of an attraction motion sickness wise. I didn't get motion sickness at all, and I often do pretty much every time I ride Forbidden Journey, so just keep that in mind. That ride is definitely a bit scary, so if you have little kids, not sure how they will react to that one. I also think the Burning Blade Tavern is worth stopping at as well. We did the Hunter's Garlic Steak, which was really good, but the best thing I had here was the Burning Cheddar Bites. I would definitely go back to get these. And if you're only gonna do one thing at the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Ministry of Magic, it has to be Harry Potter and the Battle of the Ministry. That ride is absolutely amazing, but it is known to have a very long wait. So I know when we were there, it was 180 minutes for most of the day. The day after we were there, it went up to 300 minutes. And the thing is, it breaks down and has delays a lot. So if for some reason this doesn't work with your schedule, I think it's just a lot of fun to walk around this land. If you have a wand from other Wizarding Worlds, from Hogsmeade or Diagon Alley, they will still work here. You could also purchase a wand from their new collection and walk around the land. And then also think it's worth eating at their cafe there, Cafe L'air de la Sirène. I think that's how it's pronounced, but the butterbeer crepe there, the quiche, the violet lemonade was excellent. So lots of options for what you could prioritize here. But bottom line, identify 5 to 8 things that would really upset you if you didn't get to do, and prioritize throughout the day, because it's very easy to get pulled into a land and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I spent 5 hours here. So having a game plan will really help out. Tip number 6 is to drink before you do the Darkmoor Monster makeup experience. I have a feeling that this is gonna be very popular. It's basically, you know, if you've heard of Bippity Boppity Boutique over at Disney World, where you get to like dress up as a prince or princess and they, you know, do your hair and makeup and give you a fancy dress. Think of that, but monsters. So like you can get made up to look like Frankenstein or something. And that is going to be very popular. The thing is, if you get your makeup done, you then cannot purchase any alcohol for the rest of the day because they can't match your face with your ID because of the makeup. So if there are any cocktails that you've identified that you want to prioritize on your trip and experience at Epic Universe, do that first and have your makeup appointment for later in the day so that you don't come to a situation where, oh, I forgot and now you can't order any cocktails. Tip number 7 is to bring a reusable water bottle. So Epic Universe has freestyle machines all throughout the park and you can get complimentary ice water. And it was actually cold when the water came out of these freestyle machines. So it was great. I just refilled my water all throughout the day to stay hydrated and beat the heat. You can also buy a reusable cup for the soda part of the freestyle machines. And fun fact, every single world in Epic Universe has its own Coke blend, which is really cool, except for the Wizarding World of Harry Potter Ministry of Magic, because hint, soda is a muggle drink, so they wouldn't serve it there. And besides having the freestyle machines throughout the park where you can get the complimentary ice water, a lot of the queues have water bottle refill stations as well. So that's not something I tend to bring when I go to other theme parks, but for Epic Universe especially, definitely worth bringing a reusable water bottle. Tip number 8, I'm gonna go attraction by attraction and give you seat preferences and general tips for these rides. So at the Wizarding World of Harry Potter Ministry of Magic, there's one attraction, Harry Potter and the Battle at the Ministry. And for this, if you are prone to motion sickness, try to get a seat in the middle of the ride vehicle. The ones on the side, you will feel the movement more, whereas in the center, you'll have the least amount of movement, so that might help you. It's also worth noting this attraction had a very nice family room, so if you have some people who are riding and some who are not, they have a nice place to sit. They were playing parts of the Harry Potter movies, the non-scary bits, in that family room, which is great. And as of right now, they're not doing a virtual queue for this, and the queue was built to hold a 7-hour line, which is insane. But there are, as I mentioned, water bottle refill stations and bathrooms throughout that queue. And I hear it's actually just an amazing queue in and of itself. I did a VIP tour, so I didn't see any queues at Epic Universe, but of all the queues, this seems like the best one to wait in. There is also a show in this world called Le Cirque Arcanus, if that's how you pronounce it. And for that, I would recommend getting in line at least 30 minutes before showtime. Moving over to Celestial Park, there are 2 attractions here. The first is Stardust Racers. Hands down, I think it is worth waiting the extra time for the front row. I rode it front row and it was absolutely amazing to just like see the track in front of you. But the tip here, besides waiting for front row, is the green side is more intense and the yellow side is less intense. The other attraction is Constellation Carousel, and each song has its own set of maneuvers, which I thought was really fun, but you'll basically pick an animal to ride on. A lot of them just go up and down, but then there are a couple of like boats, they call them, like the peacocks and stuff that sit 2 adults and a child in there, and that kind of just moves around. It doesn't go up and down. Heading over to Dark Universe, we have 2 attractions. The first one being Curse of the Werewolf. So I didn't find this to be too intense of a coaster. Very, very smooth, but the thing here is that those cars do rotate. And so my tip here is to do row number 2, because actually when the attraction starts, you end up spinning, and row number 2 really becomes the true like row 1 experience. And I did that and absolutely loved it, so that would be what I'd recommend. Monsters Unchained, again, such a great ride. This one, as I mentioned earlier, is a similar, if not the same ride system as Forbidden Journey over in Hogsmeade. So you could get a little motion sickness here. In the pre-show, they actually show you the arm, and like, they show it moving like a lot crazier than what you do in the actual attraction, but it kind of gives you an idea. But I think this one is a must do, and that Frankenstein at the beginning is over 9 feet tall, which is crazy, and just the animatronics in this ride alone are so impressive and worth checking out. And then just another tip for Dark Universe in general, the Burning Blade Tavern, which is that place where I got those great snacks, that has a windmill that actually catches on fire. And the tip here is that when you hear the bell tower ringing, you have 90 seconds before the windmill catches on fire. So if you catch that, get your camera ready so that you can record the windmill catching on fire. Okay, let's head over to How to Train Your Dragon Isle of Berk. 3 attractions here and a show, so much to do in this beautiful land. The first attraction here, Hiccup Swing Glider, is a family coaster, so there's no big drops or huge turns or flips or anything like that. Definitely what I would think is the most popular attraction in this world. Many people agree the back is where you want to be for this attraction, because if you were really close to the front, you could miss some of the show elements during the attraction. Fire Drill is actually one that I didn't do because I did not want to get soaking wet, and everybody coming off this ride looked like they were getting soaked. So this is an interactive boat ride where you are competing against the other side of the boat and you are aiming at these targets. I definitely recommend wearing a poncho if you don't want to just like completely get soaked and have it ruin your day, but there also are drying stations outside of this ride, which you might want to take advantage of. But make sure you pay attention when they explain the rules. When you shoot at a red target, you're scoring points for your side. When you hit an orange target, you're shooting water at the other side of the boat. But if you shoot a blue target, you actually get water shot at you. So if you're not paying attention and you just start aiming at all these targets and you keep hitting blue, you're going to get very wet. Then there's Dragon Racers Rally, which is a pendulum ride, and you basically can spin yourself 360 degrees, but don't worry, you do not have to spin. And in fact, it's very hard, and something that like our guides kept telling us is something it takes multiple tries to get right. So if you don't spin, it's actually a very pleasant ride, and I enjoyed it very much. And if you're worried about the height, get a seat in the middle, as those don't go as high as the ones on the outside. And if you don't have people that want to do any attractions here, right next to this attraction, there is a nice playground, a nice place to go hang out and spend some time while somebody else in your party is doing the attraction. There's also the Untrainable Dragon show here, which is a must in my opinion, and I'll have more info for you in tip number 10. Then let's head over to Super Nintendo World. First up, the best attraction in my opinion in this land, Donkey Kong Minecart Madness. This one does not have Express Pass, so if this is important to you, I recommend rope dropping this one. My brain was not processing how like it looks like the track is either going one way or disappearing, and you're like, how am I still going straight? It was a great attraction. Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge is so much fun if you are a fan of Mario Kart. I know I used to play that with my brother, Nintendo 64, so much fun. This is a slow ride. I don't know why when I like sat down to do it, I was like, this is gonna go fast and I'm gonna feel like I'm like racing a car. It's a slow ride. The trick with this ride is to turn with your head, not with your hands. And in the last room when Bowser is on fire, shoot at his hands. Do what you will with that tip. And lastly, Yoshi's Adventure is a very slow moving ride where you go and you collect eggs. Such a cute ride, everyone would love it, but you're in the sun, like baking for a lot of the attraction. So I personally wouldn't wait more than like 15-20 minutes for this. Really cute, but there's just so many other things I'd rather prioritize. If this video has been helpful so far, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more Epic Universe content. Tip number 9, don't forget your wands at home. So if you've been to Universal before, either over at Diagon Alley or Hogsmeade, and you've purchased an interactive wand, it will work here in this new land as well, in all of their windows, etc. And they also have a new exclusive collection of wands that are only sold here at Epic Universe, so you could feel free to take advantage of that as well. Tip number 10, don't skip out on the shows, especially the Untrainable Dragon show over at How to Train Your Dragon Isle of Berk. As I said earlier, this is a great way to get out of the sun, get indoors with some AC for a bit, get off your feet for a bit. Always recommend that. I think it's like one of the greatest tips you could do is just like a way to recover midday. But even taking all of that out, this show is worth it just on its own merits. It was a really, really cute and entertaining show. And if you don't have Express Pass or you're not doing a VIP tour or anything like that, I'd recommend at least 30 to 45 minutes prior for this show, as it definitely can fill up. And while you're waiting to get into the building for the show, I highly recommend getting a snack first before you head over, either going and getting one of those mac and cheese cones at Hooligans Grog and Gruel, or going to How to Treat Your Dragon and getting some goodies from there. I know I had a really delicious whoopie pie. Grab something, refill your water bottles, then head over to get in line for the show. Tip number 11, consider a VIP tour. So as I mentioned, I was invited by Universal and Magical Vacation Planner to come experience the park before it opened to the public, which was great, but we also were surprised with an 8-hour VIP tour, which means we didn't see or walk through any queues throughout our day. We just were brought right through the back or a special entrance and got right on the attraction, which was amazing. After the tour, I added up how much time we would have spent in line. It was over 11 hours. And then I added up what we actually spent in line getting through these attractions. And so we saved over 9 hours of standing on our feet in attraction queues, which is pretty amazing. Definitely make sure that you are subscribed to our channel, because in our next video, I'm gonna go through ways to save time in line at Epic Universe. I'm gonna go through Express Pass and the different options. I'm gonna go through the 2 different VIP tour options, private and non-private, go through all of those differences and get into more details of everything we got done in an 8-hour VIP tour. So if you're interested in more information on that, subscribe and watch our next video. Tip number 12 is to plan to stay or come back to experience Epic Universe at night. Now, during my day, I really only got to see it during sunset and not fully in the dark, but it is completely transformed and becomes an entirely different park at night, especially over at Dark Universe. Experiencing that land at nighttime is gonna be a whole other level. And even like Super Nintendo World, there's so many things that glow there, and every single portal has a light. that like shines up into the sky and they all connect, but it looks absolutely amazing. Even just walking through one of the portals at sunset felt so different than walking there earlier in the day. They're also gonna have a nighttime show at Celestial Park. I'm sure that's going to be amazing. I can't wait to watch that when it comes out. But my other tip for staying late is that you may have more of a chance of some like surprise and delight character interactions. So around the time of park closing, I was at How to Train Your Dragon, Isle of Berk, and I saw Tough Nut and Rough Nut walking around. They were just kind of going about their day, etc. That really was like the cherry on top of my day. You know, it wasn't a formal meet and greet. They were just walking around. They were like arguing with each other, throwing ice at each other. It was hilarious, but things like that tend to happen a lot at Epic Universe. I know especially at Dark Universe and Darkmoor, those characters are kind of just like wandering around, and it just makes your day all the more better. Tip number 13 is to bring a portable charger. So I know I'm capturing a lot of content when I'm there, but even the average guest, I feel like, won't just be able to survive the day on just their normal phone charge. The good thing to note is they do have fuel rod stations throughout the park, so you can purchase that if you are in dire need and then switch them out throughout the day. But I always like to come prepared with my own portable charger. You're gonna be using the Universal mobile app a lot, checking ride times, you know, getting your strategy, taking photos and videos, mobile ordering, etc. So you're gonna use a lot of phone battery throughout the day. Tip number 14 is to consider staying at the Helios Grand Hotel. So if you are traveling, especially with kids, it's going to be such a huge perk to be able to just leave Epic Universe midday, and without even leaving the theme park, you're back in your hotel. I mean, absolutely incredible. This hotel offers some amazing views of the park. One thing to keep in mind though is that it can be loud when you have those theme park views, and especially bright, even with their blackout curtains. I know some people who were staying there recently and they felt like they still had some lights coming through, especially at nighttime. So that may make or break it right there in terms of theme park view, but it is going to be such a game changer to wake up and you leave your hotel and you are already inside Epic Universe. How cool is that? Now the line for the park from Helios tends to get long about 45 minutes prior to early park admission, so plan accordingly. And as of right now from Helios, they are asking you to show a park ticket, your license, and your room key. So it's not a good strategy to drive over to Helios, pay to park, and then try to enter Epic Universe that way. You will be held up because you don't have that room key. And even right now, I hear they're charging something very high for parking just to simply discourage guests from attempting to do that. Last but not least, tip number 15. I have a couple of tips that aren't necessarily Epic Universe, but are Universal Orlando Resort specific. So for the first one, consider using a fanny pack. If you've been to any of the other Universal parks before, a lot of the attractions will require you to put your belongings into a locker in order to get on an attraction. If you have a fanny pack, a good amount of those attractions will let you ride with the fanny pack around your waist. So it'll save you a lot of time to not have to go through the lockers and just be able to right into line. There are some exceptions like Stardust Racers where they just want everything off of somebody. It's a roller coaster, it's going upside down. So for that though, the cool thing to note is that these lockers have face recognition. So with the other two parks at Universal Studios Florida and Islands of Adventure, you scan your park ticket and then you still need to have your park ticket on you to come back and get access to your locker. Here you don't have to worry. It scans your face, it opens a locker, you put your stuff in, and then when you come back, it scans your face again and it reopens that locker. So you really can put everything aside. But for those rides that will allow you, it really kind of behooves you to have that fanny pack, and then you don't have to take the time to do the lockers. Another tip is to bring or purchase a lanyard. You will show, especially for early park admission, if you have express passes of any kind, you need to show those things quite often. So it's nice to just have a lanyard, you know, with those like clear things and be able to just have easy access. You don't have to pull things out of bags, out of pockets. You don't have to worry about losing it. Those lanyards are really great, and they sell them at your Universal Orlando Hotel as well. So after you check in, you're gonna go over to the Vacation Planning Center. You're gonna pick up your park tickets. and you can purchase lanyards there as well in addition to, you know, the merchandise gift shop. And then the last tip, I think I actually might have mentioned it earlier, but with all of these theme parks, if there's an attraction that you want to get on, you can get in line for that attraction up to 1 minute before the park closes. So if you want to get on Hiccup's Wing Gliders and it is a 2-hour wait and the park closes at 8, you can get in line at 7:59. They will still allow you to wait and get on that attraction, which is great. So it's a good way if you know that you have something that you want to really get on and you haven't been wanting to spend the time earlier in the day, you can get in line right before park close and be guaranteed to ride that attraction. So if there's something that you want to get on, it's a minute before park close, it's a good idea to get in line for that. And then by the time you get off the attraction, a lot of people have cleared out of the park and you can slowly make your way out of Epic, take photos and videos, and it's pretty magical. So those are my 15 best tips for experiencing Epic Universe, the brand new theme park at Universal Orlando Resort. Again, if you're interested in getting a no obligation quote, if you have any questions about planning your trip, I would love to help you. Please reach out to me. My email is in the video description below. But that's gonna be it for today's video. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and follow us on social media at A Couple Travelers. And until next time, keep traveling.